Mama's Ashram, where wisdom flows, bridging east and west, the spirit grows. Voices of the ancients, stories to share. In the dance of thoughts, we find our prayer.
Welcome to Mama's Ashram, second episode. Nice to see you guys. Namaste.
Namaste.
With me, Malte, your host from Germany, and my co-host Madhav from India. And today another guest from India who is also our philosophy teacher in our yoga school in Rishikesh. But Madhav, I give it to you to introduce him.
And this is another very special episode, and it means really a lot to us because the guest that we have today also inspired Malte and I so much to meet every night after dinner and discuss the philosophy that we used to study and we used to incorporate in our own daily lives. And it's because of him that we also started the podcast. So the reason of this podcast is here with us today. So thank you for being here, Sushant sir. Sushant sir, as Malte said, was our philosophy teacher in Rishikesh, and he has expertise in Hatha Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, meditation, and he's been teaching for over 24 years. He has a master's in yoga psychology, and he's been traveling the world teaching yoga and tantra and the Indian philosophies, the Vedic, Tantric, and he's also the former head of yoga at Ananda in the Himalayas, and now he's an independent teacher in India, and he teaches pranayama, he teaches Yog Nitra, Chakra Shuddhi, Kriya Yoga. He has conducted workshops on the Kriya Yoga, which was made famous by Paramahans Yoganand and Babaji, Mahavtar Babaji. So also does workshops for that. And he delivers talks on Sãmkhya Darshan, Tantra, and Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which are another few names of Indian philosophies. So, sir, it is an honor for us to have you in Mama's Ashram.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like a really amazing life so far. Really interesting. Lots of stuff going on. And so the first question for me would be, or for you would be, maybe you can tell us a bit about your education, about your ashram experience, and yeah, how you came to be a philosopher, to study this. Yeah.
My journey started in 1997, and I was a bachelor in psychology, and then I found a course on yoga psychology, which was an accident, and then I thought, why not? Instead of exploring the modern conventional psychology and psychotherapy, why not explore something which is not explored yet? And that pushed me to join the course, which was a post-graduation 2-year residential course in an ashram, in a monastery, and become part of it as a student. And I learned 2 years of yoga psychology. And after completing my course, then I was appointed as a teacher, lecturer, or professor in the same department and same faculty of yoga psychology, and continued teaching for next 6 years. And then I came out of that institution, started spreading the teaching and whatever I learned to people in different places and in different, settings.
Beautiful. And what would you say? Because as you know, our channel, our podcast here is called Mama's Ashram, and we would like to have it also a bit ashram-like. So maybe you can give us maybe a little advice on how we should proceed with the ashram likeness.
Of course, because ashram is a place which is nourishing. It is a place of nourishment. which is
Right.
nourishing your soul. So if you're calling it Mama's Ashram, so Mamas, if I take Mamas as mother,
Yes.
that is a nourishing force. The mother is a nourishing energy. So the ashram, which is a place where you are putting your efforts, putting all your actions to uplift your life, uplift your actions. So Mama's ashram sounds quite relevant because it is the place, it is an auspicious ashram or monastery or a retreat or a sanctuary where people can come and nourish the soul. So to
Yes.
me, that is my understanding of the name you have chosen, Mama's Ashram. That is beautiful.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir.
And yes,
We
this is
needed
our
this.
intention as well.
Yes, we needed this for, and now the viewers know that they're at the right place. And so I'll tell you the etymology behind Mama's Ashram, how the name came to be. It is just our initials, Madhav's Ma and Mati's Ma. So we put them both together and made it Mama's Ashram. But 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 Mom's Ashram is also nice. It gives the warmth and it gives the vibe of an ashram. So thank you for setting the context, sir. And so I would like to my first question for to set today's context and for the viewers to know where this discussion will go. I just want to ask you an overview of the six Vedic philosophies, the six major Vedic philosophies in the Vedic system in
Mm,
India.
There are, like, there are two, I'm talking more from the Vedic perspective because I'm a yoga teacher. So
Mhm.
there are two lineages, there are two traditions. One is the Vedic tradition, and the other one is the Tantric tradition. So whatever practical, aspects you are having or the practical teaching you are learning in yoga, in your yoga studio, that is all coming from the Tantric, lineage, from the Tantric tradition. Vedic tradition is more deductive. It helps you to understand the concept, understand the idea. In Vedas, Veda literally means, the knowledge.
Mhm.
So it is compilation of the knowledge which was received by the seers, ancient seers or the rishis in the higher states of consciousness. They received that knowledge directly about the reality, about uh, about the idea of the universe, about your existence, about your soul, about the ultimate and absolute reality. So this is all written in the Vedic text. And those people, those rishis or the seers, they they got it. That knowledge dawned upon them. That knowledge was revealed to those people directly in the higher states of awareness.
Mhm.
And then they propagated and taught that knowledge and understanding to people who were interested in knowing and understanding the idea and the concept of Vedic approach. And so that was very deductive. It was based on the knowledge of somebody who received that directly. So like I received the knowledge and I am sharing that with you. Okay. But
Mhm.
your experiences are, indirect. My
Right.
experience, I had direct experience, but whatever I'm teaching you, that is indirect, but still it is, correct. It is, it
Mhm.
is, it is pointing at the right direction. But Tantra, on the other hand, it is very intuitive and it is a very direct philosophy that you experience by yourself and experiencing the reality by your own self. You become your own guru. Okay, there may be a physical guru, but ultimately this is your effort
Mm.
to experience and go through that transformation directly. So the six philosophies you're talking about, that is, directly from the lineage of the Vedic system. And there is a Sãmkhya philosophy out of the six, which is a very dualistic and rational and an atheistic philosophy. It is atheistic philosophy, so it doesn't believe in God. Okay, and it is a dualistic philosophy. So, meaning of dualistic philosophy is that Sankhya believes in this principle that the source of creation is not unified and one, but the sources of creation are two. That is
Mm.
dualistic. That is the literal meaning of being dualistic. The ultimate source of creation is not one, but two. Okay,
Mm.
and it is a very rational philosophy. It accepts the phenomenology of life. So, what is the nature of life? How it affects our being? Why do we suffer? What are the causes of suffering? What are the methods to come out of the suffering? And what should be the process? So Samkhya talks about all these basic nature of human existential questions. So Samkhya is a dualistic. It believes that there are two independent and separate and fundamental entities of creation. One is the pure consciousness, and the second one is the material reality.
Mm.
This is aspect of Sankhya.
Mhm.
And thirdly, Sankhya is atheistic. So atheistic philosophy, being an atheistic philosophy, it doesn't believe in God. Okay, because God or absolute reality is not so significant question or topic or subject matter for Sankhya philosophers,
Mhm.
because the main subject matter and the point of his study in Sankhya philosophy was the human suffering, recognizing human suffering, accepting, acknowledging human suffering, and finding out the reasons, the methods, and the ways. That was the main idea of Sankhya. So it deliberately didn't go exploring the ultimate or absolute principle of creation, but it got stuck to the point of creation from the duality or this relative reality which we live in that begins.
Mm.
Okay, so it doesn't mean that Sankhya is complete or incomplete. Sankhya philosophy only focused on the human suffering and how and why do we suffer.
So when
Okay,
you describe this,
and
it sounds a lot like Buddhism, I would say.
it is
But
absolutely.
then on the other hand, you say Samkhya comes out of the Vedic scriptures,
Yes,
and
yes.
but in the West we would more compare Buddhism to the Tantric philosophy than to the Vedanta,
Uh,
the Vedic.
Buddhism has, a very vast spectrum.
That's true also, yeah.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
certain aspect of Buddhism is part of Tantra,
Right.
and certain aspects of Buddhism is non-tantric.
Hmm. So more Samkhya,
So
like,
more Sãmkhya and more Vedic.
all right.
But one thing for certain, that Buddhism was also an atheistic philosophy.
Right.
It also didn't believe in God.
Yeah.
Mhm.
According to Buddha, there was no use knowing the absolute,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
finding out the causes of human suffering and finding out the methods how to overcome those suffering.
Right.
So
Would you
that
say that
was,
is would you say this is an agnostic viewpoint? Like, we don't even try to ask the question about the spiritual or the
we
God because
can
we can't know it?
we can speculate, but
Okay.
we have to rely on the data, information, and the
Sure.
philosophy and the teachings given or rendered by Buddha.
Right.
And he discouraged people finding out and knowing the God, because that was not the main issue. And Buddhism, we need to understand that Buddhism was a kind of
Hmm.
revolution in the Vedic era. In Vedic
Mhm.
era, with the time progressing, there were many rituals and propaganda and things like
Hmm.
that. The power center shifted to the priest, like it happened in the medieval period in the Catholic culture,
Yes.
Mhm.
Exactly.
that the popes and the priests, they become very powerful,
Yeah.
and they started controlling the life of ordinary people. So same
Mhm.
thing happened with the Vedic knowledge and Vedic literature, because that was limited to people, those who proclaim to be the priests. And Buddha, who was an agnostic, he started his journey as an agnostic.
Right.
He was a prince,
Hmm.
and as a prince, he left his whole kingdom. He left his wife. He left his kids, and he left out the kingdom in search of truth, in search of reality. So he started searching for reality, and he had conversation, debates, and 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 interaction with different people coming from different traditions and culture in India.
Right.
And then finally he came to an understanding, and his main concept and main reason for living the luxurious life of a prince was to find out how to solve the issue of human suffering.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So he dedicated his whole life searching for that philosophy, searching for that methodology, searching for those techniques. So that was the approach of Buddha. He was not so much concerned about the concept of God,
Yeah.
because
Or
according to him, sorry,
I'm sorry to interrupt, sir, but Buddha was also not interested. Is it so that Buddha was also not interested in the metaphysics of the world and only in the causes of suffering of man? Is it like that?
yes, yes, but he did, talk about nirvana. He talked about the salvation, that how you can get rid of the salvation. The ultimate reality he didn't mention. He didn't describe the nature of the ultimate reality, but he did mention about the voidness, which is, sunyavad. So he said that reaching that state of being, everything is, nullified. Your suffering is nullified, your mind is nullified, and you merge into nothingness.
Mm.
So that was the philosophy of Sunyavad, the philosophy of being nullified. So that was the approach of Buddha, but his main teaching concerning was for the human suffering and human being,
Mm.
that how to help people come out of suffering.
Mhm. And Sankhya also talks more about uh, Sankhya, because you say it is
Samkhya,
similar to Buddhism, also talks less about metaphysics and more about the cause of suffering and how to escape the cycle.
of course, because Samkhya starts with three kinds of human suffering. One is the physical, the second is the mental and emotional, and third one is more circumstantial and environmental.
Mhm.
So these are the three reasons we suffer from. So Sankhya was more about management of the suffering we are having due to these three factors: the physical, the mental, emotional, and the environmental circumstantial reasons. So that was approach of Sankhya.
So, sir, the two realities of Sankhya, what are those two realities and how did they, because every effect must also have a cause. So so you say the world has the cause, which is these two realities. These two realities are the cause of the existence of this effect, which is the world. So what are those two causes? And do those two causes also have a cause of existence?
Yeah, being a dualistic philosophy, Sankhya talks about these two fundamental and independent realities. One is the pure consciousness principle, and second one is the matter principle. So consciousness principle, according to Sankhya, is detached and inert. It doesn't have the potential to produce or create anything, but its main function is to observe the reality. That is the consciousness principle. And the material or the matter principle, that is full of potential. It is responsible for creating and and bringing out the whole universe and creation. This is the cause of creation. So these are the two realities which Sankhya talks about. That is the reason why it is called dualistic philosophy. So one is
Mhm.
the consciousness principle, the second one is the material principle. And according to Samkhya, this material principle is always a changing reality. It is changing, every moment. But the consciousness principle, it is completely eternal and immutable reality principle, which doesn't undergo any kind of transformation or change. This is the consciousness principle. So when this consciousness principle is interacting with the changing reality, we develop the conditioned consciousness. We develop the conditioned and transient awareness and consciousness.
Mm.
So pure consciousness is completely detached from all the changes and all the movement which are happening in this universe. But when it is coming in contact with that changing reality, it is giving rise to the reality which is egoistic, which is conditioned, and which is, transient individual reality.
Mm.
So these two principles combined together creates our whole reality and our whole experiences.
Mm.
Because according to Sankhya, when you are seeing, observing the universe or aspects of universe or aspects of creation, so An observation defines and acknowledges that there is an observer within you, because observation cannot happen without the observer. So
Right.
something which you are observing is the changing reality, according to Sãmkhya. So everything that you are seeing, experiencing, that is a changing reality. It is not permanent. It is impermanent reality. And the entity which is watching it, the entity who is observing it, that is considered as the eternal reality. That is the pure, eternal, absolute, and ultimate consciousness. So, according to Samkhya, the ultimate identity of us is that ultimate consciousness,
Hmm.
and not that changing reality. Because something which
Hmm.
is changing, including this materialistic reality of world, or the objects, or even the physical body, these are not permanent. These are changing every moment. Like for an
Right.
example, the cells of your skin is replaced in 1 week. In 1 week, your whole skin is replaced completely. So trillions of cells of your skins are replaced within 1 week. You are renewed. You understand? So
Absolutely.
similarly, the mind is also not permanent. Your breath is not permanent. The mind which you are watching, the thoughts you are observing, that is observed. So if you are observing something there, that means there is an observer of that thing. Otherwise,
Right.
observation cannot happen. If you
Right.
are observing me, that means there is observer in you who is observing me as an object. If I am observing you, that means there is an observer in me who is observing you as an object. So that observing reality is the changing reality.
Right.
So
Nice.
this is,
Yeah, would you
yes.
like on the topic of soul and spirit, would you say the Purusha, the divine or the objective observer, um, is comparable more to the soul? And in general, do you think soul and spirit is the same, or there are two different things? Because also in the Greek, when we translate the soul into the Greek, it's just translated as psyche. So
Mhm.
in their view, the soul would be the subconscious, the unconscious, and the spirit is translated to breath. So spirit is connected with the breathing, with the rhythms, with fluctuation. What would you say in that? And maybe you can translate it a bit to Samkhya.
Yeah, in Sankhya, the observer is the self.
Right.
Observer is the self. It is the soul. You call it spirit. You call it the ultimate observer. You call it ultimate witness.
Mm.
You call it the being, the ultimate being. It is all the same.
And that is what
Okay.
Purusha is.
So that is Purusha.
Mm.
Purusha is, pure, ultimate consciousness, ultimate observer. And meaning of ultimate observer is that observer cannot be observed. If you are observing the ultimate observer, that is no more the observer.
Yes.
That is being observed by some other entity. So then you have another observer for that observer.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you keep on going like that, it will be ad infinitum. There is no end. So you have to stop, somewhere, and
Right.
you have to recognize, acknowledge that there is an ultimate observer, which is the observer of everything that is changing around it. So
Mm-hmm.
Purusha is that ultimate observer, and Prakriti is the changing dynamics. Prakriti is the changing creatrix.
Mm.
It is changing every moment,
Mhm.
Mm.
So is it safe to
right?
say? So is it safe to say that the observer or the self, the true self, can never be experienced?
The true self cannot be experienced by the outer beings. It cannot be experienced by the outer point of reference, because this is the ultimate observer. Then how come you watch that ultimate observer from or through the lens of the secondary observer? Ultimate observer is the ultimate observer. Just
Mhm.
like
Right.
consider your eyes like the ultimate observer, then the eyes can't see themselves. Your eyes can't see themselves. So if eyes want to see themselves, they want a reflector.
Mm.
So Purusha can't see itself. Purusha
Mhm.
can be experienced. It can be
Okay.
realized as an entity, as a being, as an existence, right?
Yeah.
So this is the concept of Purusha. This is the concept of the ultimate observer in Sãmkhya philosophy.
So the Purusha
And
experience. So the Purusha experiences itself through the Prakriti.
yes, yes, in Sãmkhya philosophy, yes, because
Yeah.
Prakriti is the tool. It is exactly like, for an example, like you have different mirrors, different types of mirrors, and the reflector of the mirrors are giving different kind of distortion, creating different types or different kinds of distortions, and sending back those images back to you. Like in your childhood, you might have gone to some exhibitions where you have different types of mirrors.
Yeah.
When you stand in front of one mirror, you look very tall. You're standing in front of another mirror, you look very short. You're standing in front of the third mirror, you look very fat. You stand in front of the fourth mirror, you look very slim.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah, I think
So
now we have this in our smartphones, with the filters, so we can put this on and
exactly,
make us look
of
very old
course.
or very young or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are the filters.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
These are the filters which are, provided by Prakriti, because Prakriti is mutable entity. It is changing every moment.
Mm.
But Purusha is the observer. It is the luminous being. It is the luminosity of experience, luminosity of experience and knowledge. So you are having the knowledge of anything without categorizing it positive or negative. That is experienced by Purusha, which is the pure consciousness.
Mm.
But when you are standing in front of one mirror, when you see yourself and you look very, slim or very fat, then that luminosity of knowledge and experience as Purusha or pure consciousness is identifying with that image,
Mhm.
is seeing that image too.
Mm.
And that is creating the conditioned consciousness. So we as a living being with certain identities, we are that conditioned being. We are that conditioned consciousness, and Purusha is the pure consciousness. So
Right. So
regardless of the,
the conditioning comes from the identification with
yes,
Purusha,
yes. So
with
conditioning
Prakriti.
is, of course,
Yeah.
because conditioning is coming through the interaction of Purusha and Prakriti. The changing principle, which is Prakriti, which is the objective reality, which is seen, which is observed, which is experienced, and the experiencer, observer, and the seer, which is
Mm.
Purusha. So when Purusha is seeing that changing materialistic reality, it is identifying with that.
Mm.
That
Yeah.
identification, that conditioned awareness, the conditioned consciousness that develops.
So could we say this is the main problem which the Buddha also observed and then try to take an end to it, as he says
Of
the
course,
the thing is you have to let go of identification.
because
Mm.
Buddha also accepted that this reality we live in is impermanent.
Yeah.
This reality is impermanent. It is changing all the time. It is always constantly in flux.
Yeah.
It is like, you jump in the same river, but you can't jump into the same river twice
Right.
because that river is changed
Mm.
the moment you jump the second time. It is a flowing reality. It is the phenomenology. It is the transient nature of this Prakriti, the objective reality.
Mm.
But the consciousness is, getting entangled because of our wrong notion, wrong knowledge, and identification. We identify with this, changing reality and consider it as truth. When you are
Right.
provided one mirror to look at it whole of your life, you will identify with the image that you're seeing every day in that mirror. And you would start thinking that I am that. I am the same person in that mirror. This is identification.
Mm.
You establish an identification with that image in the mirror. But the real person, which is you, is standing opposite to that mirror, is not replicating the image of the mirror.
Right.
It is not
Yeah.
replicating 100%. Some mirror may be giving you very distorted, impression and image. Some mirrors may be giving you slightly closer to the reality, who you look like
Mm.
and how you look like. But still, you are not that image.
Mm.
That is the main point. But we get identified with that image, still believing that I am that in that mirror. This mirror is our society. This mirror is our education. This mirror is our peer group who tell us who we are, who you are.
Mm.
Somebody living with you telling you every morning that you are the worst person in this whole universe. You start identifying with that idea.
Mm.
This is identification with that idea.
Would you also say that the ego has a reflecting concept in it, so that we ourselves can separate us from others? I think the ego is the force that does this, that we see we are not the next person.
I think it is the ego.
Yes,
I think,
because
so correct me if I'm wrong. Is ego the tool that Purusha uses in Prakriti to experience itself?
ego is the tool of Prakriti. Because we need to understand in Sankhya philosophy, the pure consciousness is not the mind. Mind and the pure consciousness are separate and independent and different. Pure consciousness is you, pure you, who is the being, who is the existence, who is the real self, without any identities, without any conditioning. That is you. That is pure consciousness. That is Purusha.
Yeah.
But
there is
apart
another.
from that Purusha, who is the ultimate observer and the ultimate self, rest is Prakriti. Rest is the objective reality. Rest is the materiality, the changing reality, the phenomenology of this existence. So we have to differentiate between the real self and the changing reality. So real self is, constant. And the changing reality is, always changing and mutating around that real self. So there are times when you get identified with that changing reality. Like you use Instagram and use the filters. And there are filters which make you very beautiful. There are filters which can extend and expand the beauty index of your face.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
post it to get more likes. But that is not you.
This is
That
one of
There
those
you go.
filters. This is one of those
absolutely.
filters.
Yes. So that's not you.
Yeah.
But we start believing and carrying that notion, that false notion, false identification that I'm that, because that makes us happy.
Mhm.
But that happiness or the pleasure is temporary. You may be, 60 years old, you can change the texture of your skin, it still look like 18 years or 25 years. There are technologies. But that doesn't change the reality. So finding out, if you keep on going inside, exploring yourself, you come to in terms with the real self and identity, who you are. This is the subject matter of Sãmkhya philosophy.
Mhm.
To find out your real self, find out your real you without fooling yourself.
Mhm. So when we talk about
Okay.
observer and the observed, it makes me ask that does the observer get to choose, or does he can he change what he's observing? So what my question is leading to is that does Prakriti have a free will, or is it like a movie that is pre-written and it is only being watched by the Purusha? And if I say the Prakriti has a free will, or does not have a free will, I am meaning that I have a free will or I do not have a free will, because this body and this ego is also the Prakriti. So,
According to Sankhya philosophy, Prakriti is objective materiality. This is objective materiality. So something you are objectively watching. That doesn't have, free will. That doesn't have free will. So,
Interesting.
like for an example, if I have got, the iPad. Okay, this iPad doesn't have the free will.
yes.
Okay, this doesn't have the free will. It is an object. This is object to be watched, to be experienced.
Mhm.
The body doesn't have the free will in that sense, according to Samkhya. I'm talking about the Samkhya philosophy, and in India, we have, because for the sake of the viewer and listener, I need to clarify that we have different philosophies. And
Yeah.
not one philosophy dictates the terms and conditions of your life journey. This is only presenting a viewpoint. This is only
Right.
giving you an idea of a certain viewpoint. You
Mm.
have to take it in that, light.
Mhm.
So Sankhya is presenting that Prakriti, which is the changing reality, doesn't have the consciousness, doesn't have the consciousness.
So in Samkhya,
So
only Purusha has free will.
Purusha is the consciousness,
So there is
Yeah.
no will at
but
all.
Purusha is always liberated. It is always free.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is the
Okay.
identification of the pure consciousness with Prakriti which binds us. When you are seeing yourself in the mirror, recognizing yourself that I am a person with ugly face, because that mirror is reflecting that image back to you, that is limiting your free will.
Mhm.
Right.
You're
So
conditioned,
yeah.
you're
So
conditioned to that image.
if you speak on the behalf of Samkhya philosophy, would you say only a person who goes like the Buddhist way and says, I'm not this, I'm not this, I let go, is a person who can truly have a free will? And everybody who is identifying themselves with stuffs in this world with Prakriti don't really have a free will and acts on causes that comes into from environmental, from bodily causes, from mind and emotional causes, and
So
is less free.
I would also like to add to this
Yeah.
question. So I would like to add to Malta's question that there is
Mhm.
also the spiritual ego. So what is the extent of the spiritual ego? When does spiritual ego end and a person really starts to go beyond his planets or his destiny? Does that even happen? Is it even possible? Or is even enlightenment pre-written, predestined?
Destiny is, a pattern which is unfolding in front of you. Destiny is a pattern which is being unfolded. But how you go through that unfoldment of those experiences of destiny, that is your free will.
Mm.
Like, for an
Right.
example, I develop a cancer.
Mm-hmm.
That was destined to have it due to my forefathers or the genetics or whatever reason.
Environment, yeah.
That was, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So that was destined to happen. But how I
Right.
am going through that experiences of going through that episode or the events of the treatments and cure or management or even the phases of dying, the moment of dying, that is my free will.
But so what you are experiencing, your emotions are also a part of the Prakriti. And Prakriti does not have a free will. So this is contradictory,
Prakriti
isn't it?
doesn't have free will, but the observer has, because observer is always detached. Purusha is always detached.
Right. So Madhav, I think yeah, maybe yeah, I can clarify a bit. Also with the emotions and thoughts, you don't decide which kind of thoughts and emotions you have. You know, this is not part of your free will. They just
Yes,
happen to you.
Right. So
This
yes,
time. Yeah.
so the moral is that a
yes,
person can have pain, but choosing to suffer is the free will.
yes.
Pain is the
This is
destiny,
your
but
choice.
suffering is free will.
For example, yeah, like I always mention in my teachings and classes that pain can be inevitable, but suffering is your own choice. Pain will be there. If I develop cancer, I develop cancer. What can I do? I have to go through the procedure or not go through the procedure. This is my choice.
Right.
But do I suffer, make it or tag it as a suffering? That is my choice. I choose it to be a suffering, or I choose it as a means to evolve
Hmm.
and come out of that identification with my issue and the problem. I'm giving you extreme example, but that can be applied to our day-to-day life experiences too.
Hmm.
Yeah, I heard a really beautiful sentence from a guy once. He made a documentary. He also had cancer in the last stadium, and he wasn't going to live very long anymore. And he was standing in the rain, and then the interviewer just came by him and said, like, because he was the only one, everybody else was like, try to go somewhere to not be in the rain and whatever. And he asked him like, why you are standing in the rain? And he said, every weather is beautiful if you're deadly sick.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes, absolutely.